Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. You're welcome to what I believe will be a very, you know, uh, dynamic conversation that would reshape credit, for the Nigerian financial future. I am Victor Innocent, your host for today, and over the next hour and a half, we will be confronting hard truths, dismantling myths surrounding credit and rebuilding hope around credit access for the everyday user like you and me in this country, Nigeria. I am joined by two pioneers who have really dedicated their careers to fixing this broken credit system in Nigeria. Firstly, allow me to introduce Tunde Balogun, the co-founder and CEO of Small Technologies. Small Technologies, a fintech firm backed by Techstar, leveraging technologies, to prefer affordable, financing solutions that empowers, individuals for progress. The journey includes significant milestones from small, starting out as a prop tech firm that helps people to get access to monthly rental payments as to what the general notion is. Then moving on to now a full tech organization. He holds a bachelor's degree in international business management and a business degree from Stanford University. Beyond he remains committed to broader impact as the recipient of the 2012 Clinton Global Initiative, a global ambassador for Jumpstart Africa, empowering young African leaders. And this drive and dedication is something that resonates every day in his day-to-day life. Also with me as a guest is Babatunde Akimoses, the CEO and co-founder of Sycamore, an award-winning peer-to-peer lending, savings, and investment fintech platform. This company has empowered over 3,000 people and businesses, across Nigeria. Prior to Sycamore, he has worked in the oil and gas sector. He has consulted for KPMG and PwC. He also holds a bachelor's degree in economics from Bowen University. He also is a chartered accountant, an MBA holder as well. Um, he has also written, a book on economic principles. He's deeply passionate about making Nigeria and Africa as a whole a better place to thrive and to, drive prosperity for all. Moving on from this for a minute, Mr. Tunde, I will refer to you as Tunde and the other Tunde as Baba Tunde. Pardon my English. So, Mr. Tunde, I would like to start with you. Before we go further into this whole conversation as regards credit and all, I would like to understand what ignited this, fire for credit, especially, in Nigeria. We know it's not easy running a credit system in Nigeria. It's the financial sector first is a mess, but running a credit system inside this financial structure, what ignited this fire in you to take up this mantle?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's a great privilege to be here with you all today. Thank you for joining us for this session. I'm excited, really excited because this is, you know, I'm really passionate about this topic, about the credit market in Nigeria, just because I believe that it's one of the lifeline to transforming our nation and to driving impact. And thank you, Victor, for being a phenomenal host today. It's good to also have my good friend Babatunde with us today. So, and there's no anyone else to do justice to this with on this discussion. Outside of Tunde, so I'm just so looking forward to some of the great things he's going to be sharing with us today. But to answer your question, again, we live in a country whereby we have huge population. We have a young market. We are regarded as one of the young population country in the world. With over 60% of our population, below 18 years old, and so many other key metrics or key numbers that just speak to the future of this country, that there's a bright future for this company. But we can't enter that bright future if we are not putting certain thing in place today that can make that future a very, as bright as it could be, and make it an efficient and functional future where everybody can thrive. Based on my own study and all the years I've lived overseas, one of the things I saw was that credits power nation. Credit actually powers nation. And in Nigeria, when you look at the adoption of credit, you see that the penetration is very, very low, and that is not because people don't want to use credits. I don't even think we've gotten to a place where people even understand what credit is in Nigeria. And when I say people, I'm talking about the masses, right? So there are a lot of myths, there are a lot of culture that just kind of that speaks against what credit in itself is. That could, and the potential of credit to drive nation forward or to move people forward. So we have not established that definition or that general definition of what credit truly is, for the masses, right? But for me, I mean, starting small, we started as rent small, and I think the fact that we don't have institutional channel for people to access credits, it just means that it has to be private sector led, which is what is happening right now. You see a lot of companies that are now getting into the credit space and all of that. So, and it's not bad. Sometimes it's the people, the private sector, that wake the government up to some of the roles and the government need to play. We don't have credits wired into our institution, into the framework of our social life yet. So now private sector are the one that have been kind of, when we started Rent Small in 2017, monthly rental was not a thing in Nigeria. There were just about one company or two that we started together. And even though it was not direct credit where we were giving money to people, but it was still a form of credits where people can pay instrumentally for their rent, and that was where it all started for me. Moving back, seeing that people were paying their rent 1 year, 2 years up front, and knowing that that is not sustainable. It's hampers growth, it limits growth, it limits productivity. If you have to live further away from work in order to be able to afford accommodation, there are so many other things that you need that people could just. So that was where the fire started for me. Just wanted to solve the monthly rental problems I identified that. But of course, small has grown from monthly rental to helping people own homes, and then that has also grown to other things that we are doing now, where we have a marketplace for people to buy, goods and services and pay in installments for them. So that's really the foundation of what we've done and where we started.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Very, very, I hope we all get to catch the fire to tap into this. Babatunde, I would need to indulge you for a minute. Just share with us what ignited this passion in you for credit, especially in Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you very much. So thanks a lot, Victor. Thanks for inviting me for this program. I'm to be here. I mean, very similar trajectory to my mistake today, right? Where our personal experience is saw a problem and try to fix it. That was similar to my experience as well, right? So, two main, should I say, eureka moments. So first is I used to work in big consulting firms. And what I realized is it was very easy for me to access credit as an upskill formal worker when suits and structured salary. But when I started my business, I had a very small business back then, like laundry business, very small, cute business, and I thought I was going to change the world with that laundry business, right? And what I realized is while it was possible for me to get credit as Sunday or as Babatunde, the consultant, I couldn't get credit at the laundry business, right? That was impossible. So from that point, I just sort of started to see the problem that it was easier for people that are already earning money to get more. Meanwhile, the businesses that actually need credit to scale were struggling. So that experience sort of stayed with me. few years later, I went to Lagos Business School for my MBA, and we were reviewing a case about how people were getting access to credit in other African countries. And me and my co-founders, my MBA, we were just looking at the data, right? And we noticed that of all the billions of naira in credit that goes out to businesses, about just 1% goes to SMEs and growing businesses, right? And that was a very big, we saw that as a very big opportunity to not only possibly tap into that market commercially, but also to make impact as well. So we didn't see it as impact and profit being mutually exclusive because there were all these small businesses that needed credit, and we saw an opportunity to help them and make a change oriented. So that's how the journey of Sycamore started. Thank you.
Mm. All right, thank you very much for sharing that story. One thing I can say is, a common denominator across board is this started from personal experiences. This started from you identifying that there was a problem because you tried accessing you know and truly that is the story for many Nigerians, and it's the major reason why we are here today. As it stands, it also reminds me of one of the will I say small customers which we supported a while ago, and she has been eternally grateful. She's an entry level employee, an architect, but the problem was, with architecture, you need big softwares, for rendering and things like that. And the laptop she had was just not working. So she reached out to us and she explained her plight. And because of what we stand for, which is, having this and, presenting credit as an equal right to everybody, to the regular Nigerians. We brought her on board, we helped acquire a laptop in which she spread this payment so much that she didn't even know she was, paying for a piece of hardware that cost over 1 million naira. So I don't know if she's part of the audience today, but that story is one that always comes to mind when I think about some of the things that credit has been able to, help people do. Okay, so quickly moving on from that, I would like to ask, majorly for Nigerians, how do we explain to them that their hustle, their hard work, how do we tell them that that hustle, their consistent rental payments, their consistent purchase of stuff across different places actually counts for collateral? Because collateral has become one very very big blockade for the regular Nigerian, because you can't have access to credit except you have this in collateral. So how do we explain to Nigerians that their hustle is actually worth something in the credit space? Okay, Tunde, you can go, please.
Okay. Again, like I said before, that credit is it's a lifeline for nation building. That is, you can't take credit away. Any nation that is serious about nation building cannot take credit away. And I think when we're talking about credits, even I mentioned that we need to have a general knowledge of what credit is. There's direct credit, indirect credit, there's cash credit. There are different forms of credit. But at the end of the day, the general term credit is really just a means for someone to be able to access something without having to bring all their cash, all the resources needed to access that thing from their own pocket directly. So it's a means whereby something has been, it's a enabler. You are leveraging on something, an add-on of some sort, to be able to access something that you typically would not be able to access, right? And the way we've done credit up until now in Nigeria, whether indirect credit or direct credit, especially the institution that were supposed to be like the backbone, aside government, the other institutions that are supposed to be backbone to be pushing or driving credits are typically financial institutions like banks, But when you look at what they've done up until now, I don't think we've seen much progress, or it's widely available to the masses because of certain barriers that they also pose as their reason why they can't do credit or give credit generally to the masses. You have barriers like data. There's no, we don't have a central data system. Because of that, they tend to be very selective in the people they give credit to, and even those people, the barrier to access the barrier for those people, the barriers are actually very high. So you see, like, we have the upper class, we have the lower class, we have the middle class. So they tend to attend more to the upper class, whether it's an individual or business. And upper class means that you have a name, you built a conglomerate, you have the big manism, the Nigerian big manism thing going for you. So they tend to attend to those cadre of customers before they look at maybe a middle class person that has a decent job, decent income, and is actually eligible for credit, or a lower class person. I don't like using that word, that has something going on for his or herself, but still needs some support in order to kind of enter the middle class or enter a new level of life. So when you look at it from that angle, then you see that the barriers are actually very high, and they've kind of decided the set of people they would give credit to. But generally speaking, I think we've entered a phase already whereby there are a lot of moving parts that will allow us to do more, and that's why you see a lot of fintech companies, the likes of Sycamore, that are coming in and just removing some of these barriers. The truth is that credit is still very risky in Nigeria. We can't shy away from that truth. It's still, if you are in that space, you know that you are in a risky business, and if you are not careful, you can close shop so quickly because of how much of a high risk it is, right? But for me, the way I see it is that we cannot continue to, because of risk, because of the barriers, to sit down and just wait for magic to happen. It's not going to happen, especially if you know that what you are doing is an enabler to driving the nation forward, is an enabler to impacting lives, allowing people to live better. Then there's enough reason to want to throw yourself at it every day, and when you start seeing the result, when you start seeing how you're helping somebody get from point A to point B, then it all makes sense. And then you also, the big question is, how can we do it better? What are the things that we further need to unlock to remove certain barriers? There are conversations around open banking today, whereby we now, I'm sure today we speak better, about open banking, which I also love to hear his insight. But I think we're entering that phase of where the collateral that you typically need, to access certain form of credit, where that is being lowered or even removed completely to a large extent, where some companies don't even require you to drop any collateral before you can access credit, because they have certain other things that they can use to kind of hold you accountable, even though that might come at a bigger cost to the person accessing the credit. But yeah, it's exciting time, like I would say, and I just believe that we have a bright future for credit in Nigeria. But it starts now.
All right. Thank you very much for that. You've literally just poured out, your heart to us on this subject. Because literally, in all you've said, it's still boils down to accessibility. Just like you have rightly said, boils down very much more to accessibility for the everyday Nigerian. One quick question, Babatunde. Looking at the context of credit, in the Nigerian culture, where would you say we are at, as a people? Do we need more education on these things? Do we need more people talking about, responsible credit? Do we need to promote responsible credit? What is the level of, credit adoption in Nigeria? Because comparing it to say the US, where the entire economy is run on credit, from the upper class, the middle class, the lower class, there is this accessibility across board. But we see the story is a bit different for Nigeria. What would you say is the responsible thing to do as regards building responsible credit in Nigeria? Do we start from re-education of the masses, or does this start from? How can we strike a balance for good credit in Nigeria?
Yeah, thanks, Victor. I mean, it's a very important question, right? And I think there are like two or three embedded questions in what you've asked. So I think first off is it's a multi-sector or multi-stakeholder approach, right, to getting people to embrace it more. So what I mean by multi-stakeholder? So one, every financial service player, whether you're a fintech or a traditional financial institution, um, we all have a responsibility to provide financial education as part of our um, responsibility to the customer, right? And even if you check consumer protection laws, that's part of what you see that look, we have a responsibility to also educate, but we can even take it a step further, especially now with the proliferation of social media and whatnot, right? You can disseminate information a lot faster and wider. So the fintech companies have a responsibility for education. The government has a responsibility for education, and even the consumers themselves, right, have that responsibility. And now, in terms of where we are as a nation in terms of adoption of credit, we're still very, 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 very far behind. I always laugh when people say, "Oh, there are too many lenders in Nigeria, too many fintech lenders in Nigeria, too many fintech payment companies in Nigeria." If you check the data, last I checked, less than 10 million, less than 10% of Nigerian adults have ever accessed credit before, right? Less than 10%, right? It's a very small number. Don't even get us started about how to access insurance or have pensions. Those ones are in minute, single digits, right? So there's still so many Nigerians that have never accessed credit. But sometimes those of us in Lagos, Abuja, and maybe Port Harcourt, we think that we're the whole of Nigeria, but we're just a few states that are very, very urbanized, right? There's still a lot of people that have never accessed credit. So we're still very far. If you go to if you're in the Western society, right, people that have just a job, they can get a mortgage, they buy their phone on credit, they buy all their assets on credit. So they're able to live a comfortable life very early on compared to the average Nigerian where you have to save cash for everything, right? Somebody was making a joke that even if you earn 1 million naira a month in Nigeria, it will still take you a minute to save for a decent car, right? That's the truth. When you look at that reality, what's going to bridge that gap between what people need and their current income? It's going to be credit. That's true because you're not supposed to use your own cash to buy every single thing you have, right? There are couple of things that credit is supposed to assess. So just to wrap it up, to two sides of your question. One, credit adoption is still very, very low. Let's not mistake the urban penetration in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt for what the whole nation is experiencing. That's one side of it. The second side of it is the fact that multiple parties have a responsibility for financial education, and we should take it as seriously as we consider access, right? So the government has a responsibility, the consumers have a responsibility to educate themselves, and we, the players, have a responsibility to also educate our would-be customers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that truth. Just a quick recap. You have clearly reiterated that all stakeholders basically have a part to play when it comes to education and re-education of both themselves and their audiences. And I think this is particularly true, especially for a climate like Nigeria. So thank you very much for that one. Also, the adoption levels, just like you've rightly said, we shouldn't take the adoption levels around areas like Lagos, Abuja, and the rest of them to, gauge the entirety of the country. So yes, I believe this is a great direction. And looking at what the federal government as well is, rolling out as regards credit, there has been this, uh, front as regarding credit. They really are taking it seriously. So I actually believe credit is something that would, spring up very well in Nigeria. And I just am hoping we are able to, have responsible credit adopters across the country. Yes. So moving to what the country by itself holds as regards policies surrounding credit and the rest. If you could advise like the CBN or the Nigerian government on one policy to unlock credit for the everyday Nigerian, what would this policy be? What role actually is the government? What's the government's role in credit adoption on the populace level? And also, the second part to it would be what are the further steps to scale this? So, this policy that you would advise the CBN or the Nigerian government to take on after implementation, how do you think they can scale it? Yes, yes, very clear.
Oh, okay. So I mean, that is a very, very interesting question. Um, I think that my position, and it's well documented, has always been that if you want to unlock credit, we need to look at a better consequence management system generally in terms of regulation. What do I mean? There's a lot of cash now in the Nigerian banking sector that and pensions and the capital market generally that mostly goes to back to buying bonds and treasury bills every year. It's not going into lending. Why? A lot of people that lend don't believe that there's a very strong consequence management system. Now, consequence management system sounds like big English, but really what is it? It means that if somebody defaults on their loan, right, what is the consequence? What does it mean for that person? Again, I like to borrow what they do in some Western societies where um, my let me give you an example. One of my friends is in the UK, and because he just moved there, his credit his credit score didn't make him eligible to buy an iPhone of a certain price, right? If you are in some areas, employers will check your credit score before they employ you. Potential landlords will check your credit score before they employ you. I'm sorry, before they take you in as a tenant, rather. So what you find is that credit is embedded in multiple layers of the society, because and that is a big consequence, right? So, for example, if I take a loan here from small, and I know and I say, well, I won't pay, and I want to go and get a job, and they tell me based on your credit history, but we can't employ you. You're not the person of good character. You have poor credit. I think that will go a very long way, and this capital that is already here will flow easily because a lot of the lenders and financial institutions will know that, oh, I can get my money back because this guy is basically going to be trapped. He can't get a job, he can't get a house. So many, there are so many checks and balances around the system in terms of consequences, and so they want to pay. So I think doing that would unlock very, very major credit because it means that if people have um, a high assurance that they'll get their money back, a lot of institutions that already have capital would begin to allocate a lot more for lending as opposed to just what you have now in the money market, right? I think you asked that question around what government can do to make it easier to access. Was that it?
So if you were to give like an advice to the
Yeah.
government, what that advice would be, and what steps can be taken to further scale? Yes.
Yeah. So again, making it right. The people that insist that check people's credit score are financial institutions. I'm saying that you want to extend that to employers, to landlords, to people that want to even to manage vendors that want to sell things in stores, right? So. And I think, as you mentioned, the government is really going in the right direction. There's talk of embedding people's credit score to their NIN, right? So anyway, NIN pop up, we'll know whether you're somewhere that goes everybody, yeah, basically. And those are some of the little steps already being taken. So embedding it into different layers of the society would sort of make it easier. Then, okay, two other things that I would also uh, suggest as means of steps is in line with the first advice that it's not only urban areas. We need to first of all, simplify a lot of the language of the financial ecosystem, right? You check a loan contract, it can be complicated. I was looking at a loan offer from somebody got from a financial institution, and it's very complicated. Yeah, it's very technical terms. Person basically needed a finance person to explain a lot of those terms, so it can be complicated, right? And you can't trickle down. You can't trickle down to everybody, regardless of their status, if it's complicated. So simplifying the language of credit, and then making it possible to even be available in multiple languages. I've always said this too. You are trying to do financial inclusion in northern Nigeria, and you're speaking big English. You are going to the deepest eastern part of the country. Instead of speaking Igbo or what have you, you're speaking big English. You're going to have limitations, right? So, just three things: consequence management, simplification, and adoption in multiple languages. I think those three things will go a long way getting us credit penetration. Thank you.
All right.
Just to add quickly what Smith said, I completely agree, and I think, one of my mentors would say that one of the ways to, to make adoption broader, or take adoption to the masses in the area of credit, is when you have a lot of players in that space. Of course, it's not everybody that will win, and it's not everybody that will lead. There will always be, in every space and in every market, there will always be a leader, right? And it's to everyone to try and be a leader in whatever space they are. But that saying of like, we need more players, which Nide also said that there's a general, or he has heard people say that there are too many lenders and all of that, that he believes that we don't even have enough. And I agree with that we don't have enough, and it's aligned with what that my mentor says, that when you have more players in a space, especially a space that is critical to the advancement of the nation, that is critical to unlocking productivity and unlocking a better life for the masses, then one of the initial move that needs to happen is where you have a lot of players coming into that space, and it just shows that that market is ready, or that space is ready. But outside of just having enough players in the space, when it comes to around consequence management and all of that, I think that is also critical to how it's one thing for us to have enough players, it's one thing for us to have enough adopters, but another thing for us to be able to manage it in a way that is sustainable. So credit has to be sustainable in Nigeria. And one of the ways to ensure that we have sustainable credits, whereby we don't have people taking credits, whether any form of credit, whether direct or indirect credit, and abusing it, is that consequence management. And generally, people talk about Nigerians that, I believe we are good people, but we tend to take things for granted when there are no consequences, when there are no penalties, and even when there are penalties and the penalties are not being enforced, it's an average Nigeria. We just do things as they like. The anyhowness that we usually talk about. I'm a very positive Nigerian, patriotic Nigerian. I like to speak positive about Nigerians, but the truth is that some facts are undeniable. We because of our culture and the way certain things have been set up over the years, discipline is not one of our strong traits. Financial discipline and things like that. So one of the ways we can really advance the adoption of credit, whereby everybody know that, if I need this, I can access it, whether it's short-term loan, whether it's certain items that I need, is also when we know that we've put certain structure in place, like consequence management, discipline, whereby if you falter on your loan, there are penalties, and those penalties, we enforce them, we see it through, and I think government can take a central role in that, because individually we are just doing it in silos in our own space. I don't think that can take us really far. But if we have a central system that just kind of brings everything together. To give an example, if you are looking for employment and you have bad credit, and that can be easily identified, whether through your NIN and things like that, then people will know that, yes, this thing is available to me. This thing, I can access this thing, but I also need to be a person that is responsible, and a person that has not messed up his or her chances just because, I've collected things in the past and I never lived up to my obligation. So yes, we need to have more players. We need to position for broader adoption, bigger adoption, take it to the masses. And then thirdly, we need to have the consequences and penalties that go with people not being responsible and playing their parts also need to be well communicated and centralized in a way that people are still not operating under. The bad actors are not operating under the radar.
Okay, thank you very much for that one. One key takeaway that I can pull from both is there is the market that is ready to get into credit, but at the same time, people need to be financially disciplined. Financial discipline is a very key part because take for example the credit score, being tied to your lifestyle, being tied to your job, being tied to your rentals, being tied to your purchasing power and all of those things. It really would help because when people know that if you have a bad credit score, you cannot access other things, even outside of credit. At that point, they get to understand that yes, it is something that should be taken seriously. And looking at the bright side as well, knowing that with a good credit score, you actually don't have to pay for things out of pocket. You can get access to these things upfront. So I think for a country like Nigeria, I do believe it's inculcating that would be a very good step. So quickly, I would want to pose this question to both of you, please. Rebuilding, trust in the credit system in Nigeria, it won't be an easy task because a lot of people have been burned in the past. Loan sharks have really, really, messed things up over the past couple of years, and people are really skeptical about credit in Nigeria. People would rather there is this saying they would rather just save up, and if it takes them 10 years to save up, let it be. So how do we build trust from the user point of view now? How do we build trust for the user as pioneers in the credit space?
Yeah, building trust. I mean, trust is a very delicate subject, right? Because it's not exactly like a light switch that you can just on and off. Sometimes it takes time to rebuild, right? It takes time to build or rebuild if lost. So that being said, I think that service quality of service delivery is very very important
Mm.
um, in building trust, right? So what do I mean is it's like if you fast forward, let's say 10 years ago, we're all using commercial banks for a lot of our transaction, right? If you walk up to a random guy on the street today, uh, you're most likely going to hear that pay, money points, or maybe even Kuda or Palm Pay, right? These are all fintechs. And these guys are all come maybe in the last 5 years or so, or plus or minus. And a lot of Nigerians have trusted these businesses, right? And that's because what most of them, I like to engage people, right? If I buy plantain on the road and they're either bringing a POS or they're showing me a transfer account number, right on the street. And I like to ask them, so why using these guys? Why is yeah, okay, anything fast or I get my
Mhm.
lunch after. So speed and quality of service delivery is very important. So I think we the private sector players, I think if we do our job right and we build better quality, it's not only about government rights. If we build quality products, the people adopt it better because really at the end of the day, people just want their problem solved. So that's very critical. On the part of the government, really, trust is also built um, with very good regulation, not regulation that stifles, but regulation that grows, right? So we've seen recently Ponzi schemes being announced by SEC recently. A couple of them, people losing millions. So in that regard, as much as we private sector have to work on the quality of our product in terms of speed and the quality of service delivery, Government also has a place of regulating to make sure that there are no bad actors that are scamming people, um, or that are doing illegal business. To say to put it very simply. So yeah, again, private sector, we have a part to do. Government has a part to do in terms of regulation, and some of the things I've said earlier too would also help. Simplicity of language is in English, um, using multiple languages again to get to those areas. All these things, they build trust, right? And we also need to know that it's not something that will happen overnight. There needs to be timeline and some patience. Again, all these guys that I call, they didn't come up overnight. It's taking them some years to build trust in the society. So I think if some of these things are done and giving a reasonable amount of time, along with decent financial education on part of all parties too, we can gradually start to rebuild trust. But we need to start yesterday, actually, not today. Thank you.
Trust. I mean, it's a two-way thing, um, both from the user and the provider. I think um, you mentioned loan sharks and all of that. Again, when you look at the playing field, how in the past, trust has been taken because maybe certain users they access some credit from some of these businesses, and they had to do what they needed to do in order to try and collect their money back and all of that, and they had to take the extra mile, name calling and things like that, and that has also sent a message of like, oh, maybe this is not something that we can trust, and all of that. But when you look at the size of that, it's still very small. What we are talking about, we are talking of a country with a population of over 200 million people, and someone put here in a comment that there's no upper or lower or middle class in Nigeria. There's only just rich and poor. Um, I mean, looking at things on the surface, that's how it appears on the surface. But when you look deeper, actually, it's more than that. Yes, we have a middle class, we have a lower class, we have that's we can't. That is the reality. It's just that how efficient and how functional, or what is the purchasing power of these different classes. The middle class, what is their purchasing power? What is their bargaining power? The lower class, what is their purchasing power? What is their bargaining power? The upper class, what is their purchasing power? What is their bargaining power? There's something the CEO of Kustrari said recently that trended. He said if Dangote were to come, into his office and said, "Oh, I want a Rolls Royce and all of that," they would give Dangote the car because Dangote is well known and all of that. What does that tell you? It speaks to, one, does that mean that Dangote is credible? I don't think that what he said answers the question of credibility. It only answers the question of being known, having a conglomerate, I haven't built institutions or businesses that are well known and all of that. And to some extent, reputation. That reputation I mean, there are a lot of questions that go around this. Does that reputation, how do we define credibility with that reputation? In the years that Dangote has been running businesses and taking credit to run his businesses, are we saying that Dangote has never defaulted at any point? Maybe not. Maybe yes. But I want to take the other, like most likely at some point they have defaulted on certain loans, but maybe it has never been a case where it defaulted on certain credit but never paid it back. That might not be the situation that he ended up still paying back is. So for me, the big question is around trust is credibility. And the way to really establish credibility for the masses or for the different classes we have in Nigeria is through systems. Because credibility is not something, yes, that you might have a good name, you might have a reputation amongst your friends and all of that. But beyond that, when you are going to the marketplace, how do we establish your credibility? How can we see your credibility? You are coming on small platforms to want to buy certain things. I'm not going to call, why do I need to call your friends to be able to establish that you're a credible person? If you are going to Sycamore to access loan, why do Sycamore need to call your friends to, why can't we have somewhere we just go and be able to say that, oh, this person is a credible person? So there is history of your credibility, And I think that is one of the ways where the trust that we need to have between the users and the providers of credit. That trust can then be a trust that is not vague, a trust that is not just hanging on nothing. So that trust needs to hang on credibility, and credibility needs to be something that can be accessed, systematically, rather than just, going through some channels that are not sustainable. Is not for every user that come on our platform. Imagine having to call all their friends, all their family, or all the landlords that they've ever used, which has been some of the, how we've done things with Rent Small Small. When we started Rent Small Small, we will call previous landlords that people have rented from, we will call their workplace and all of that. It was a lot of operational work. But to scale credit in Nigeria, we have to build systems that allow providers to see things, and we have to build a system that allows the user also that are accessing credit to be able to show that, I've been a credible person, and you can see how credible I've been, whether it's credit, what's it called, credit scores, your history, credit history, and things like that. I think that would help with trust at a scalable, level, or ways that it can scale.
Okay, thank you very much, Tunde and Babatunde, for sharing. What I can pick up from both of you is, firstly, trust is a two-way street, in which, as a provider, in as much as you want your users to trust your service, you should be able to trust the users as well, that they are forthcoming. And the other side to it is, building a great product, a product that answers for itself. And I actually believe, yes, both ways are ways that we can, uh, bridge this trust gap, between both user and provider of this service. I would implore us to take a look into the future of what credit is to hold for Nigeria, most especially. Uh, I know this may look like an imagination, but yes, let's imagine in Nigeria where 70 to 80% of the working population actually have access to fair credit. You know, how does this change the life of citizens, and how does it collectively, change the story for the nation as a whole? So I'll be throwing this to both of you, but Tunde, you can steer this, please.
No, Babatunde, please go first.
Yeah, interesting. I addressed this similar question. What does the future look like? I think that there are some immediate things that would sort of kick in, right? I think you can potentially have a drastic reduction in poverty levels. We've seen it happen in places like Bangladesh, where microfinance really started. That when credit became accessible, poverty levels went down, right? And when poverty is reduced, it has so many positive multiplier effects on the economy. We're talking about reduced income inequality. We're talking about um, better controlled population, because what you find is the more educated, the less poor the family is, the higher likelihood that they can afford education. And the more educated the population is, it sort of gives there's a positive correlation between that and managed childbirth, right? So it's we also manage our population growth. So we're talking about impact on poverty, impact on education. We're talking about impact on even population growth, and very very important, reduce inequality. So you also have reduced gap between the haves and the have not. There's already a very interesting debate going on in the chat about whether there is upper middle class or lower middle class or poor and the rich. And today I mentioned that he doesn't like using upper middle class. Whether you call them poor, rich, upper middle, lower level, bourgeoisies, and whatever, the truth is that there's income inequality today. Credit is one of the ways that gap can close. Obviously, if you have improvement in poverty, improvement in education, population growth, income equality, definitely all of this impacts the lower crime rate, which is improved security, right? So if people, there's less poverty, better education, just whether you like it or not, you'll just see crime rates start to go down. These are all pointers to, human development, not just growth. A lot of time we're looking at growth from the perspective of GDP numbers, but you don't really measure that in terms of just how much money the economy is making, right? You have to look at quality of life, income inequality, access to education, poverty levels, all of that. Again, we're looking into a crystal ball. We're looking at a situation where credit is accessible, which means that we'll all be living in our own houses by now. We'll be driving cars that we own. We'll be able to get quality education and all of that stuff, right? So I think that the positive multiplier impact is significant. And again, there are many examples all over the world that shows that this is possible and it's not just a pipe dream. So thank you.
So, I mean, for me, I agree with everything Baba Tunde said, and I think it's the reason why we are doing what we are doing. At Small is the reason why we are doing what we are doing, and also knowing Baba Tunde and Sycamore, I know that's at the heart of their mission and everything they are doing is that impact. And I think it speaks to a brighter future where we have young guys like us and several others in the credit space, in different form and shape and different sizes, really just playing our part, and we see that multiplier effect. It's going to start happening. The government is also taking a position, which I think is probably one of the strongest positions we've seen in recent governments, from previous to recent governments. I think this government, I think they have an idea on the role credit can play, and they are taking a position and they've launched different type of initiative. There's the credit corp, that has been established. There's the tech fund, the ones that goes to education, providing student loan and all of that. So we are definitely going to see a strong multiplier effect in terms of quality of life improving and all of that. But some of the things I still believe that are fundamental to be able to achieve that quality of life is how we still see credit. I don't think people should not only see credit as money, or the type of credit that Nigerians need is not only financial credit or credit that is directly tied to cash money, you giving me money. I think we need all forms of credit in circulation right now that just allow people to meet their needs. So I would say there's need commerce more than e-commerce, where we are prioritizing need commerce. And I think need commerce will help with productivity, how productive we become as a nation. So there's the popular term of consumer credit, right? Consumer credits, I mean, is what it is. But I think when you just think of it just by the name, it talks about consumption. I think there should be more emphasis on production credits or producer credits in a way, a credit that allow people to be more productive and go into production, whether businesses to go into production or increase their production, or whether as individual to boost your productivity in life. And what are those things that you need that can become an enabler for you to become more productive? And it's not only cash in your pocket. Yeah, cash can open doors to many things, but you will not always have the cash to do the things you need to do, or to have the things you need to do. So what are the other channels? And that's why I believe that credit must still express itself, or must find expression in different form in our society right now, unlike how credit is done in other parts of the world where people easily have access to credit card. I don't even think we are ready for credit card in Nigeria. So I think that is like a company that comes out today and say everybody you can get credit card and all of that. I think that would be a time bomb. The loan sharks, or whatever we call it, I mean the lending company, I think they are, I think for now, to a large extent they can still fill in that gap, where people can access some form of quick loan and all of that, right? But the other type of credit is a credit where people can, without having to access cash, they can access the things they need. For example, if I need an automobile, a car, because either I don't have one and I need one now because I have a family, I need to take my children to school, I need to get to work on time and all of that. So I've moved from not having to use public transportation to now needing a private car. So in order to improve my productivity, in order to have a better and a more balanced life, you know, how many car companies can I get direct installment payment from right now in Nigeria? Do they exist? Yeah, maybe we have few, but not as many as we need. And what are other platforms that will allow me access car and pay instrumental? That's one thing. If I need other tools, that would help my productivity. You mentioned the example of Ada, a customer that got laptop on the small platform, on the Fair app, and is paying instrumentally, and she was able to improve our work quality of work with time, with 3D rendering and all of those things that an architect would typically do. Those that improved our productivity. That's a need that she had, right? And I feel and I believe that majority of Nigeria actually fall under this, these segments whereby it's not just necessarily having cash in their pocket. Because the truth is that a cash that you have in your pocket or in your bank account can go to anything, and things that are not productive or things that don't necessarily meet your need. You can have cash in your bank or in your pocket that you say, oh, I want to use it to do these things that would help me to, maybe you need a phone in order to run your business, or to take just be able to get more clients and then before you know it, you are planning to buy the phone tomorrow, but between today and tomorrow there's another urgent ones that came up. I don't even call it urgent, or a distraction that came up that takes that money from you. That money is gone. That's the reality. That money is gone, and you might have to then wait until another time where you can get the phone. But if you know that there's a channel where you can go or there's a platform where you can go and actually get that phone because you need that phone today, it helps you solve a problem. It helps you attend to clients better. It helps you take orders better. It helps you run your BPOS business better, or whatever it is. Then I feel like that meets your direct need, and it can take you from level A to level B. So for future, for better lifestyle, for quality of life improving, I think Nigerians need to prioritize their need over their wants, and also prioritize the platforms and the channel to access those needs, and also prioritize their productivity. And it's easier to be more responsible and more disciplined when the credit you are getting is a credit that has boosted your productivity, that has improved your life, rather than a credit that you just lavished on something that it's gone and you can't point to it anymore. It's better. It's easier to be responsible that way. So that would be my in terms of the future. I think that would take us to a better future where people can access the things they need, and it boosts their productivity and eventually ends up putting more cash in their pocket.
Okay, thank you very much for that insightful one. As both of you have, clearly stated that, I just got a new word, need commerce. Need commerce being what should drive a credit, and not just people looking for cash, right? Because as you've said, cash is something that can not necessarily will help productivity, you know, but when you have credit where your needs is tied to productivity, still taking for example Ada, and one of the reasons why I know I spoke with her a couple weeks ago, and she still was thankful for what we were able to do for her, and even repaying, she knows that, oh, this is something that is directly tied to my productivity. My work, I get paid at the end of every 30 days. And this productivity that is enabling me is tied to what I got from credit. So I believe with more need commerce approach, to credit from the side of the adopters or the users, I believe we will be able to attain a very much more responsible credit structure for Nigerians. Just a quick insider peek. I would just like to ask on small and on the Sycamore side. Can you throw us some insider information on some things that you're building in house that is helping Nigerians? So we're talking actually helping Nigerians, not, yes, we have the whole credit and everything, but down now to the product. Can you give us an insight on something that is happening that Nigerians should expect?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we are. I mean, it's so many things that we are cooking in Sycamore, right? I don't even know where to start from. So I think one of the things that is exciting that we're working on is we are trying to accelerate the process of businesses getting access to credit very, very fast for larger amounts. So what exists in the market today is the speed for credit is mostly for consumption one, and the amounts are smaller, right? So if you want a 30K, 40K loan, you can get it instantly on several months. But if you wanted 20 million, 30 million, something like that, you need to do a lot more things, and it can take you months if you go through a commercial bank. If you go to some of the more recent lenders, it will take you a while. You still get it, but it might take you a long time. So we're saying, can we bridge the gap between these two guys? The guys that make it, they give large loans, but it takes a while. The other guys are fast, but the amounts are too small. Can we build a system where somebody can get a lot of money very, very quickly? And it's been a problem we're working on for a while. Hopefully, we can get it, we can make it available before the end of the year. But it's something very, very, very groundbreaking that we think would help a lot of businesses. And today summed it up pretty nicely when he said our target is for people that want to use this thing for productive use. It's not for consumption, right? Because when you think of that, you're not looking to give anybody that just wants to explore it. It's for working capital, it's for input, it's for you to grow your business, employ more people, productive stuff, right? So that's something I'm working on. And honestly, there's so many angles of the product, but I just want to keep you guys guessing for now. But that is a major part, something major that we're working on that we hope that brings to the market sooner than later.
So on our side, again, I mean, we've evolved from, we started as Rent Small Small, which is allowing customers, Nigerians, to pay their rent monthly. We evolved, expanded to Buy Small Small, where we provide alternative mortgage for people that are looking to own homes, and we have thousands of customers across both products and both offering. And in recent time, we launched what we currently call Fair App, FAIR app, Fair App, and that is just again understanding, the journey of our customers. You rent out, you buy out, those house needs to be furnished. You needed certain things with as regards to your work. So how can we provide those also those items or those needs to our customers and beyond our existing customers to prospective customers, right? So that was what kind of engineered the progression from Rent Small Small, Buy Small Small to what we now to where we are right now, where we have a product called Fair. It's a marketplace where Nigerians can access electronics, gadgets, groceries, supplies, and pay instrumentally for it. We launched just about 4 or 5 months ago. We have about over 30,000 downloads already across Google Play and iOS. We are receiving orders daily now. People coming. It's vendor powered, really. Majority of bulk of the credits that we provide on the platform, the instrumental payments are powered by the vendor themselves, and then we also we are also directly powering some of these credits on the platform in order to further enrich our offering on the platform, right? But speaking into what we have cooking, so one of our what we are currently doing, we are consolidating. We feel like in order for our users to have a better experience on our offering. We are consolidating all our products into one single platform, one single account, whereby so it's one brand, one platform, broader experiences, and with one profile. So with one profile, once you go on the small platform, you can decide where you want to go based on your need. If it is rental you need, if it is home ownership you need, if it is your daily consumption item, groceries or electronics or gadgets, phones and things like that you need. You can do everything in one place, and that is currently being put together. So we are launching a new mobile app before the end of this month, or latest first week of July. We are also launching a new website. The brand is, there will still be Rent Small Small being the rental, there will still be Buy Small Small being the, but again, these brands or these products, the way we've up until now, they just kind of stand on their own and do their own thing. But now, we're bringing everything as one entity, one brand, that way people can engage better, with the brand and know that, there is one small, which is really what we've identified to bring everything together for our customers and even for us as a company, whereby we are not spreading ourselves too thin and moving in too many directions all at the same time, and that is affecting how efficient we are. So that's, and then some of the other interesting things we are doing at SmallSmall is people, we believe that the whole small vision, we like to say that SmallSmall is not just a name, SmallSmall is a way, and one of the ways we can, and SmallSmall is when people think of SmallSmall, it's not about being slow, it's not about just waiting for magic to happen. No, SmallSmall is actually the process of progress, the process to make progress that is measurable, right? It speaks to gradual, something that you have a goal you want to achieve, and you apply yourself to a gradual process to achieving it. And things are better achieved when there's a process to it. When you set goals, when you know that, oh, for me to arrive at point C, there's this A and B are things I need to do. And that's really what we're about. That whatever your dreams are, whatever your aspirations are, whether you want to get a laptop, whether you want to get a car, whether you want to get a phone, there's a process you can apply yourself to. You have decent job, you have decent income, you can actually achieve this, you can get these things. But one of the things that we are doing also is to allow people pay daily and weekly for the things for the things they get on SmallSmall. So for the first time, our rental, we're going to be introducing at the launch of the new SmallSmall platform and app, people will now be able to pay daily and weekly for their rents. Before now, it's always been monthly. So that shawarma that you eat every day, just imagine that you can also take that money of shawarma. You can also just use it to, if you are paying rent of 150k monthly, 100k monthly, you realize that daily, that's 150k or 200k or 100k, it's probably around 2,000 naira daily, and that's money that you wouldn't even have to think about, to pay on a daily basis. And there's auto debits that will be in place that will allow you to pay that 2k daily. By the end of the month, you realize that the 100k for your rent or the 150k for your rent, you've even paid it without having to think that, oh, I have 150k to pay at the end of the month that needs to come from my salary and all of that. So that is something exciting that we're introducing with the new new platform. So what we call it, target is SmallSmall reimagined. So we want our users to reimagine SmallSmall and have a new experience of the old SmallSmall way and the old SmallSmall drive. So that's what we are doing right now.
Okay, thank you very much for this sneak peek into what's going on both sides. And very much, as everyone can see, it's this is driven by the need to better the lifestyle for Nigerians as a whole. And both CEOs have shared a brief insight to what they are cooking on both sides of their corners. I don't know if this is a coincidence or because it's funny that both pioneers of this bear the name Tunde, one being Babatunde, the other being Tunde. It will be safe to ask if there are opportunities, for collaboration between both brands.
So, I mean, for me, it's not just. I don't think it's coincident in any way. We've always kind of talk about it in a joke. The two companies also we start with S. Which I believe stand for success. Beyond that, also we started about the same time. So what we call age group. So we are peers also. So there are so many other similarities between us, and I think there are opportunities for collaboration. One of the things that we would like to do, and I know that there are conversations we've had in the past between today and I on things that we can collaborate on. I know the Sycamore community is very strong. The impact that Sycamore has had on its community is probably one of the reasons why the company has gained some good grounds, and the company is well known out there, just like as we have done also the impact we've had at SmallSmall. So one of the collaboration we would love to achieve with Sycamore is whereby the offering we have right now, the whole SmallSmall reimagined, we're able to bring it to the Sycamore community, either in the form of API, and all of that, and the benefit will be a two-way benefit that Sycamore can also benefit from this. So that's there are so many other ways we can think of collaboration, but beyond even that, I think collaboration credit will try better on credit adoption. We try better on collaboration. Especially when we said something about the future. That future cannot happen without collaboration. When you look at even some of these developed countries that we are talking about, the likes of the US, the pioneers of industries in those countries, it is through collaboration that they were able to move mountains. The likes of Andrew Carnegie, the likes of Henry Ford, the likes of Rockefeller and all of that. Those guys, they were competitors, but they were also collaborators. If you go down memory lane to go and read history, they were only able to move mountains. They were only able to break barriers because they collaborated. So I think as we anticipate that government needs to do their part, one of the key elements that needs to be happening with the players in this space right now is where we are collaborating and we are looking for how to extend hands to each other in order to further drive adoption to the masses. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Babantade, I don't know if you want to speak to this.
Just briefly, I think Sunday has summed it up nicely. I personally think we're already collaborating. Collaboration is not just always just commercial. Sunday, came to Sycamore. He shared his entrepreneurial journey and the journey of SmallSmall with my team, and they were very inspired. And sort of just gave them that whole, that SmallSmall message came across. The message of ownership came across as well. And a few of them had reached out to just ask advice on how they could work towards a mortgage. I also came to SmallSmall as well. I spoke, and yeah, so I think even this call is already a form of collaboration, because this is financial education that we are talking about in sense of what we are doing now. So I would say the collaboration is on and it's ongoing, and we hope to still be able to collaborate with SmallSmall on everything to their set, both from our community and the SmallSmall community as well. There's definitely a lot of synergy because we're all in the credit space, right? So we think definitely collaboration is really ongoing, and we just take it a notch higher as we go forward into the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that one. At this point, I really must say that what is to come next from both providers is something that is going to, start to rewrite the rules around, credit accessibility and adoption, across Nigeria. Just, taking a brief into what SmallSmall is currently doing, which is, the SmallSmall reimagined, where all is becoming one. The Rent SmallSmall platform, the Buy SmallSmall, the Fair app, all becoming one. And the inspiration for this being our end users, knowing that whatever credit score they have on their Rent SmallSmall profile can as well be used to purchase stuff for their lifestyle, or can be used to further, get essentials because it will all be done in the same place. Now, this would enable them freedom for a better quality of life, whether it's a home that doesn't demand years and years of savings, or those lifestyle essentials that you need ASAP, as well as dream purchases that can help you scale your potentials. Basically flexible as it should be, paying as you earn, basically, and not having to sweat over acquiring life's essentials. We'll be sharing a link to the new small platform to all our distinguished listeners and guests that have joined us in this webinar. What it basically means is the new small for new users. It just gives them connected benefits across all the categories. And basically for old users, it's a single dashboard without limits. Something that tells them that yes, all of your financial journey, across the service is something that is actually worth using. There is no more profile juggling, and loyalty actually will pay more. Using this one platform. Basically, we are not looking to fix our users, because at the end of the day, there's no problem. We don't think there is a problem with Nigerians. We don't think there is a problem with people actually spend what they have, and people actually have access to the kind of lifestyle they can afford. So we don't think there is a problem with the people. The problem we think is with the system, and one of the ways we are looking to fix this is this consolidation that is happening very, very soon. And the details of it will be shared in mail to every person that is at this webinar. Quickly, I would want to thank everybody for their time and their contribution, both on the webinar and, for the credit access for Nigerians. That's majorly our two CEOs present here, as well as members of the audience that have honored us with their time to, sit with us to discuss these matters. We really want to say thank you, and we hope that credit adoption will start with us. As we have pioneered this in the Nigerian space, we want to be able to tell stories that we saw how credit grew in Nigeria. So yes, thank you again for your time. We'll be ending the session now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Tunde, for having me. I appreciate it. Have a nice day, everyone.
And you too.